answer.
Get ready, Central Florida. It's Arms Room Radio. With Mike and his team from the Arms Room, conceal and carry, new gun orders, proper care, product updates, and your calls. Connect with Mike right now. 407-682-9595. 407-682-9595. Arms Room Radio is on the air. Now, here's Mike.
Welcome to Arms Room Radio. My name is Mike. I am your host. I'm also the driver of the Winnebago. Joining us this week, on my right, is my right-hand man. With me always, the great-great-great-great-great-great-grandson. Is that right? It was a 7?
That was 7.
That was 7.
Okay, yeah,
7.
that was good. Well done.
Great-grandson of Daniel Boone. Ladies and gentlemen, his name is Earl.
Thank you. I guess that makes me the navigator of this Winnebago, huh?
Yes, you would definitely be the navigator of the Winnebago. That's a good one. I like the navigator. I'm not familiar with the terminology navigator. That's nice. Well, I've heard nagravator.
Yes.
The nagravator. That would be the spouse sitting next to you.
Yes.
Shouldn't we be going that way? Yeah. Yeah, that's the way we're
unfortunately,
go.
I'm familiar with that as well.
Okay. All right. Also this week with us, barely, is the courtroom assassin himself, the legal ninja. Ladies and gentlemen, Kevin Maxwell.
That's very sweet of you.
That's it.
Very sweet of you.
Well,
I would never use the term navigator or nagravator, given my propensity for misplacing myself on the planet. I'm very happy when my wife can tell me which direction I should be headed.
I'm sure she takes quite a lot of joy in telling you where to go.
She does. And I do exactly what she tells me.
He's relieved somebody knows where he's going.
Yeah. Little traffic out there today, Kevin? I know you had a little problem.
That wasn't my problem. My problem was the negotiation of the terms for the surrender of several thousand rounds of .308 ammo.
Wonderful. Well, it's a priority. This is a show about guns, and that's a show about and that's a problem about ammunition. So we hope the negotiation went well. We see you in one piece.
Not only did I make him give me money, but I made him carry it to the car.
That's a champion. And perhaps shine your shoes before he leaves.
No, I didn't make him shine my shoes.
Go that far. Wax the car.
I was going to be late, so I couldn't wait.
Okay. So it's at a later date. It's like a player to be named later.
It's very much like that.
Thank you. I see you have your samurai sidekick beside you, Alec. Thank you for coming back.
Thanks for having me back, Mike.
Yeah, we had Alec all prepped up, ready to go. He was standing by.
And I'm sure he would have been fine without me. He often is.
He was very on edge. He was like,
he was getting a little excited about it.
He was. Well, I don't know if it was excited or Kevin will hurt me if I do that without his permission.
No one steals Kevin's thunder.
Exactly. We weren't stealing his thunder, just substituting it for a little bit. Just making it look like Kevin's thunder. Is that Kevin's thunder? Yeah, I think so. Also joining us this week, our return guest. Local shooting competition shooter, Remington. Thank you, Remington, for being here.
Yay. Glad you guys actually had me back. I was a little worried after last week.
It was a little touch and go, but the polls came in and it said invite him back. So it was a long drawn out poll. The hanging chads are what took the count a while, but we got it down and bringing you back was.
And I can't believe you did that to Chad either. That was really mean.
Listen, I've known Chad for a long time. He's good with it. It's all right. Remington, last week we left off with how to get involved in the world of shooting, competition shooting. I think some of the things we talked about were to go to some of the websites to learn about the different styles or the different what would you call them, classes of shooting.
Right, different disciplines of
different
shooting,
disciplines. Thank you. That's what we're looking for.
Yeah, last week we went over some places to go and basically, get out to a range and find, especially outdoor or indoor range that offers some shooting activities. Right.
We talked about uspca.org, idpa.com, and cfdcc.org. That's the one that you deal with a lot, Earl, isn't it? cfdcc.org?
Yes, that one.
Okay. We know that I go to the range, I watch, I go to the range, and if I like what I see, I've brought my eyes, ears, I've brought my basic equipment with me, which is just any gun that I happen to have if I'm new to this business.
Right. Bring what you got.
Okay. From there is where we're gonna pick up. But Kevin, I know a lot of the questions we've had during the week were, how do I get those guns from here to there? People are very nervous about bringing the guns from home to bringing them to the range, or just transporting their guns in their car if they're not going to the range.
There is absolutely no restrictions on the carry of a firearm on your person to a shooting event or for practice. You can actually carry openly, which is a nuance to the Florida law, that you can carry your firearm on your person to the range. You're going to a training session or a shooting match. Now, if you conceal it, you violated the law. But if it's openly carried on the way into the range, it's not a violation. I don't recommend it, but it's not illegal.
Okay.
Just because it's not illegal doesn't mean you won't suffer a consequence from it and that you will eventually prevail in, but you'll still pay the expense of having to deal with the problem.
Sure, hassle of arrest, prosecution, and then just because you're acquitted
doesn't mean it didn't cost you some money.
Exactly.
The other opportunity is for you to just simply encase it in a gun rug or in a hard case, along with your ammunition, put it in your car and drive to the range. As long as it's encased in something, you're not going to have a problem with carrying it back and forth to the range. It's just not going to be an issue.
Okay.
I got a question for you, Kevin. I go shoot a 3-gun match. Let's say I got my trunk full of firearms, my competition AR, maybe a backup AR, a couple pistols, a few hundred rounds of shotgun, a few hundred rounds of rifle, and I get pulled over, and this guy's thinking I have maybe a quote-unquote arsenal. Do I let him know right away? What's the best move there so that I'm not getting in trouble? I don't want to be on the news competing, just trying to do what I consider a sport and something I like to do. I don't want to wind up on the news because I was maybe going 5 miles an hour over the speed limit.
He brings up a good point a good point. A friend of ours, mutual friend of ours, was on the news not too long ago because he had an arsenal of weapons when he got caught allegedly doing something wrong. And it ended up being, 4 or 5 guns and dozens of rounds of ammo. And it was termed as
dozens?
Yes, that's exactly what it was, dozens of rounds of ammo.
I have more than that on me.
Exactly right.
Sounds like a nice starter collection.
Exactly. But yeah, exactly. This is what the questions are.
What you want to do, and again, it's going to depend upon the circumstances and the officer and the reason why the stop took place. If you're carrying a concealed weapons permit and you're carrying a concealed weapon, you should hand your concealed weapons permit to the officer with your driver's license and your vehicle registration, your proof of insurance. You want that officer to know, I'm carrying a concealed weapon. What you will immediately get as soon as he sees that card is, are you armed now? And the idea is just keep your hands on the steering wheel. Don't make furtive movements. You've just made him very, very, very nervous. Or her very, very, very nervous. Don't be surprised if while you're waiting for them to process you, another car pulls up because you've made them very, very nervous. They're going to ask you where your weapon is. And if they tell you to get out of the car, do so very gingerly. The likelihood is that they're simply going to ask you where it is. You tell them where it is, and they'll tell you not to make any movements toward that part of your body. If you have a weapon in the vehicle somewhere, your glove compartment, under your seat, in a lockbox somewhere, just tell them where it is. They're going to ask you, in all likelihood, are there any other weapons in the vehicle? That's when you give them the answer, well, yes, there are. My competition equipment is in the trunk. You can't access your trunk from inside your vehicle. Now, there are certain SUVs you might be able to reach back that far and access it. But the point is that it's stored. They don't have any need to inspect that unless they have a well-founded, articulable suspicion that you are in the midst of committing an armed felony. They don't have any reason to search your trunk unless they think that there's something that you have that's contraband or that you're smuggling something, and they bring out a search warrant, there's no reason for them to search the trunk of your car for, the firearms that you've already told them about.
So what we're going to hope for is an educated officer. What we're going to plan on is you being the driver, being respectful and courteous to the officer, and being very clear about what you have as far as where your hands are placed and what you have in the trunk behind you. Bruce is on line 1. Let's see what Bruce has to ask.
Yeah, I do a lot of shooting, go to the range a lot, and I've always been taught never leave the range with all of your firearms in your case, because there have been some cases here in Florida where people have gotten robbed leaving a range, and all their gear is in a bag, unloaded, tucked away.
Okay, Kevin?
Well, again, that is a very valid concern, because as you're leaving the gun range, people who are looking for an opportunity to steal firearms have natural choke points as you ingress and egress from the range. So tactically, they know where you're going to be, and they know probably when you're going to be there between certain hours of operation. They're going to look for a day where there's no one else on the range, that you're moving back and forth. So you do need to take those concerns into consideration. If you have a concealed weapons permit, you should always recharge that. I mean, I clean my pistol before I leave, and I recharge it, and I put it back where it belongs, and that's where it's going to stay. I make sure that I am armed when I get there, and I am armed when I leave. I don't want to store everything. And likened to the same philosophy, I don't shoot up all the ammunition I brought with me so that I don't have anything left in my carry gun to go home with.
Sure, at a minimum, you should have unloaded your duty ammo from your carry ammo from your everyday carry piece, set that aside, and when it's time to load back up and leave, you're going to put your carry ammo back in there, not your steel plate target ammo.
Right. I shoot Hornady zombie rounds, and those are not inexpensive, and I'm not going to shoot paper with those.
Right.
Now, that doesn't mean I don't train with them occasionally, so I can make sure that my grouping's the same, my operation's the same.
About every 6 months, you should take your everyday carry ammo and shoot it.
Right.
It starts to deteriorate, break down from the sweat, from the bouncing around in your car. I know guys on motorcycles have had the rounds come loose because it was in a motorcycle with that Harley pumping on it every day. You also get the feeling of what that ammo is going to feel like if you ever have to pull the trigger in a real life situation. So it's a good idea to rotate that ammo, and you rotate by shooting it. But make sure you've got other ammo to go with on the way back, on the way from home. All right, stay with us. We're going to continue with this discussion on competition shooting on the other side of the break. You're listening to Arms Room Radio.
Thinking about buying an AR rifle, maybe for hunting, sport, or even home protection? There are a lot of them out there on the market. It seems like everybody and their brother has an AR out these days. So why should you choose an Arms Room AR rifle? Well, there are at least two major reasons. One, the Arms Room AR rifles are made by veterans and first responders, men and women who know what it's like to depend on a rifle when protecting life and liberty, and the AR rifle in their hands has to function right the first time, every time. Two, the Arms Room AR rifle is made right here in Central Florida with the highest quality materials and standards. Chances are your Arms Room AR may not ever be used to defend life and property. But if it comes to that, wouldn't it be comforting to know that it can? Shop the Arms Room today and check out their vast selection of handguns, shotguns, hunting rifles, Liberty gun safes, and the Arms Room AR rifle. The Arms Room, East Colonial Drive, a quarter-mile west of the Buffalo Raceway. Online at armsroom.com.
Hi, it's your lawn. Look, it's time you started paying attention to me. I've got this bald spot. I'm not nearly as full and green as I should be. You need Laylou's Landscaping and Sod Service. Their trained professional team has everything we need to make me the envy of the neighborhood. Besides, do you really want to spend all of your free time with me?
No.
Well, I'm not going to lie. That hurt a little.
Laylou's Landscaping and Sod Service. Call 407-692-7047. That's 407-692-7047. Get 10% off your first month service when you mention mention Arms Room Radio. Lay loose, a proud supporter of the Second Amendment. Cracked asphalt is not only unsightly, it's a hazard. Lawyers make money every day representing clients who fell on other people's property. If you've been putting off repairing your sidewalk, driveway, or parking lot, don't. Protect yourself while making your property look new again. Seal Coat Florida patches, stripes, and resurfaces parking lots, walkways, and driveways. With over 20 years' experience, Seal Coat Florida offers free estimates, flexible work schedules, and guaranteed professional service. Call Seal Coat at 321-358-SCFL. That's 321-358-7235. Online at sealcoatflorida.com. Seal Coat Florida, proud sponsor of Arms Room Radio.
You're listening to Arms Room Radio. Call the Arms Room Radio hotline right now. 407-682-9595. 407-682-9595. Arms Room Radio is on the air. Welcome back to the show.
AM 660, The Answer.
Now, here's Mike.
All right, welcome back to Arms Room Radio. We're talking about competition shooting. We're right in the middle of a question that we had taken from Bruce on the air. I think, Kevin, there was another part of the question as far as the caller's concern was leaving the range, or leaving his shooting sport, his competition, and he does not have a concealed weapons permit.
That's still the coming and going application. So you can still carry openly, leaving the match or the session and returning to your home.
So that might actually be what the intent of the law was. You know, I don't have a concealed weapons permit, but I'm transporting all these guns. People know now that I'm leaving that I had guns. Well, the law gives you the right to carry that firearm and say, step off.
Now there are some indoor ranges that want you to secure your firearms when you leave. As you are leaving, they're going to zip tie your firearms. As soon as you are out of their facility, I would make ready that weapon for the rest of the journey home.
Put the guns in the trunk of the car, or better yet, go sit in your car, right. Or open your car door, stand in the open door, hold your gun below the dash, and point it in a safe direction, not at the gas tank, not at somebody. Charge your weapon. Just put your weapon on your belt, in your holster, then continue loading out the rest of your gear in a manner that says to everybody, I get a gun. Don't mess with me while I'm messing with my other guns.
You know what? I don't even know that you need to go that far. You can charge that weapon in the bag you brought it out in, and put it back in your car and get in your car. And as long as it's encased in that device, that's not concealed carry. And you can carry that firearm like that in that car all the time. I mean, not everybody in my family is a concealed weapons carrier, but, you know, there are firearms in the vehicles that I use on a regular basis that I can access because I know the codes for that box.
Right.
They're in that. My wife happens to drive that car on a given day. That weapon's in that car. There's nobody going to be able to do anything to her about that legally. It's secured inside of something.
Okay, wonderful. Speaking of wives, I have to give you the update since last week. My wife did call in. First of all, she did not know I was going to be asking her a question. She thought I was literally going to be, hey, this is me calling in. I want my jewelry. Well, we asked her the question. I thought it went very well. She did very well. Thank you, dear. She got her jewelry, so she's happy. Now, I don't know when another holiday's coming around where she wants another piece, but she'll probably call back in at that point. Earl, have we heard from Mrs. Earl? I don't know if we've heard from Mrs. Earl yet on the show.
No, we haven't heard from her live on air, but I do have to, give her some praise that she's the first wife to attend the session here.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. She was in attendance. We'll have to send off to the court for an opinion on that one to see what that qualifies for.
I believe that I'm going to have to recuse myself from that particular.
Thanks, buddy.
Yeah. Thanks. No. I don't want to get into. I practice family law, but I don't want to practice on myself.
And Remington, it is your second time back.
Yes.
No call-ins from your lovely lady.
Well, she did hear about the jewelry, so I told her that to tune in at 4 sharply.
Smart man.
Wonderful.
You are more clever than I gave you credit for.
Earl, how can people get a hold of us on your interwebs there?
On the interwebs, We can be reached at Arms Room Radio on Twitter. Arms Room Radio, it's facebook.com/Arms Room Radio.
Okay.
And we just created a new email, radio@armsroom.com.
Radio@armsroom.com. Okay. Radio@armsroom.com. Armsroomradio.com. If they want to go see last week's show, that's where all the podcasting is.
Yes.
So radio@armsroom.com if you want to email us. Armsroomradio.com if you want to see what we did last week.
Yep.
At Arms Room Radio if you want to talk to us now. That's the tweeter, right?
Yes.
So you give us the Twitter with the tweets, and then we can talk now. Or you could do like Bruce did, 407-682-9595. 407-682-9595. That gets you on the air live with us. Or who do we have out at the shop this week?
This weekend we have Connor and Tim.
Wait, those are the Marines.
Yes, they are.
Where's the Army guy to translate for everybody?
He needed a day off.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, why do I get the feeling we're going to go back and they're going to be standing there with no guns and a bag full of magic beans?
No, it won't be that bad, but bring exact change.
Yeah, all right. Okay. All right. Well, fingers crossed. 19048 East Colonial Drive, right? 19048 East Colonial Drive. What's the special going on out there?
This weekend we have $100 off all Arms Room AR rifles and pistols.
Okay, I have to go. I'm going to
No, sit down.
$100 off all Arms Room AR rifles and pistols.
Yep.
Wow. That's who approved that? Is that one of your jobs?
Yes.
All right. Okay.
I did.
Can I bring back like the last 5?
Yeah.
And then do that transaction?
Yeah.
No. Today only?
Today only.
If I wanted a custom 3-gun build, could you guys do the $100 off also?
For today, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. We'll take the orders and take the $100 off that, no problem.
What time you close?
Till 7 o'clock today, and tomorrow is from noon to 5.
All right.
12 to 7 the entire week except for Sunday. Sunday is noon to 5.
Well, I love the fact he's got his wallet out and he's counting. How much do I have?
I've actually never seen anybody carry Monopoly money in their wallet before. That's kind of weird, but
I think it's his allowance.
It's that's wonderful. Remington, I've sat now at the range. I've looked. I've watched. I have decided I need to pick a classification or pick a discipline. Thank you. I'm writing it. Hold on. D-I-S. I'm writing that one down. Can't keep forgetting the word. What are the different disciplines?
Well, IDPA is a very popular discipline. Gear-wise, you need 3 or 4 magazines. Some people call them clips. I wouldn't advise that. A firearm, something. Bring your Beretta 92. Bring your Sig Sauer. Bring a Glock. Bring your M&P.
Standard store-bought kind of stuff, not a specialty gun.
Don't need a whole lot of You're not going to get a lot of the race guns, the as they call it, with optics and compensators. That's not a big part of IDPA. They do require some sort of cover because it's a International Defensive Pistol Association.
And let's make sure they understand what the listeners understand what it means. That it is designed to be drawn from concealment. So you're going to have a jacket or a vest or something that covers the firearm as it's carried on your person.
Correct. I see a lot of it when I've gone to the range or when I've seen the pictures. It's just a standard shooting vest that these guys wear, right, or a vest that a fisherman would wear.
A fisher vest, if you've got a shotgun vest, just something right to conceal the pistol.
Okay, it doesn't have to be a trench coat. It doesn't.
I'd recommend not bringing a trench coat. Something light that you can take on and off, especially in the summer. Probably not going to wear it the whole time. Sometimes there's scenarios where you're in your garage and you'll be armed, but they mock up a scenario for a particular stage, and you may not have to wear that cover in that case because you're in your home or your garage. So something light can go on and off real easy is the way to go on that.
Okay, and so that IDPA is the gun I buy over the counter. I chose a Beretta 92, a SIG 250 for home defense or for vehicle defense, and that's that gun. It's a standard gun, and it's a one-gun kind of match?
Yes, sir. One gun. Bring what you got, a holster, a couple mag holders, a good stiff belt. It's highly recommended, but nothing nothing fancy needs to go on there. You know, if you've got a good Kydex holster, that's what I'd recommend to get started with. You know, just about every company makes, you know, Safariland makes holsters for everything. You know, search Kydex holster, you'll find 100 companies.
Okay,
I got two made today by Deadeye Luke.
Luke's a good man. So we get standard issue gun. How much ammo do I need for a day?
You're not going to need 200 unless you miss a lot, but I go ahead and bring, you know, 150, 200 rounds. 150,
200 rounds of ammo, and I'm looking for target ammo, ball ammo.
Yeah, I mean, mostly punch and paper, a little bit of steel. So just, you know, Winchester white box.
Okay.
You know, nothing fancy. Don't bring your zombie rounds out there.
3 to 4 magazines. Most guns come with 2, so I need to buy 1 or 2 extra.
Right. Some of the guns come with 3 mags. Grab 1 or 2 more. It's always nice to have an extra mag in case something goes down, falls on the ground, spring pops out. You know, maybe you don't have some downtime to.
Okay.
You can put it together when you want.
Sounds like a small investment to get involved.
Majority of it's what you should already have.
Okay. Kevin, how can people get a hold of you and Alec?
You can reach us on our phones at 407-467-4960. You can reach us at our website, maxlaworlando.com, Facebook /Downtown Attorneys, or you can tweet us at @MaxLawOrlando.
Wonderful. Stay with us. We're going to continue talking about competition shooting on the other side of the break. You're listening to Arms Room Radio.
You're listening to Arms Room Radio. Call the Arms Room Radio hotline right now. 407-682-9595. 407-682-9595. Arms Room Radio is on the air. Welcome back to the show.
AM 660. The Answer.
Now, here's Mike.
Welcome back to Arms Room Radio. We are talking about competition shooting with our guest, Remington. We have coming back. We have a caller all ready to go. Remember, if you give us a call at 407-682-9595, 407-682-9595. Mick, is that screen right? Is that who it says it is there? It's ladies and gentlemen, this is Mr. George Zimmerman.
How's it going, guys?
How are you doing, George? Good to hear from you.
What's going on?
Well, I wanted to say hi to the whole Arms Room family.
We appreciate you calling.
Thank you. I've got 2 questions. One for the Legal Ninja, if he's still around.
He still is, Kevin?
I'm ready.
Hey, Mr. Kevin, how's it going, sir?
Good. How about yourself?
Excellent. Listen, I got pulled over a while ago, believe it or not. And
I think I might have seen the helicopter footage of that.
The officer, well, 2 things. One is I've been told that handing them, and I've been told this by numerous officers here in Central Florida, handing them a concealed weapons permit. First of all, they all say the same thing about the badges. Don't ever get a badge. They're stupid. They're worthless. But if you hand them your concealed weapons permit before they ask for it, different officers may interpret that as threatening. And I know you covered that by saying that, you know, you're going to make them nervous. There's going to be a secondary car. Everything you said is exactly what happened. But I've been told that at times, you know, depending on the situation, an officer may construe that as a threat, saying, I'm armed, you know, are you going to give me a ticket or not? So I think that that's something else that, you know, maybe, I don't know, would you inform them and say, hey, officer, by the way, I just want you to know I'm handing you my concealed weapons permit so that I'm carrying, instead of just handing it over to them?
I always made it, and I've been pulled over. I'm a regular guy. I tend to drive too fast sometimes. I've been pulled over while I'm armed. And as I was taking my driver's license out, I'd actually gotten out of the car because my car is a little smaller and I can't access my wallet from inside the car in my pocket. I got out of the car, I reached and took my wallet out, and I took my driver's license out, and the trooper that saw it saw my concealed weapons permit, and he was very interested as to why I didn't tell him that immediately. I mean, the moment that I stepped out of the car. I said, well, am in the process of taking the things out of my wallet to hand to you, and my hands are in front of me. Where's your firearm? And I told him, and he took my driver's license and he processed my paperwork, and he handed my driver's license and my concealed weapons permit back to me, and that was the end of the encounter. He didn't want to see anything else at all except my registration and proof of insurance.
So I guess my question would be, would it be wise to just tell them why you're handing over your concealed weapons permit with your license instead of...
I try to make sure that the officer knows that I'm not a threat to the officer. Now, you are in a slightly different universe than most of you are than most of the people that are going to get pulled over and will be advising law enforcement they're armed. I don't know any law enforcement officer who's going to take the handing of a plastic card to them, which I believe you have an obligation to do if you're asked for it, in advance of being asked for it, just saying, officer, here's my license and my concealed weapons permit, just so you don't become surprised if you realize I am armed during this exchange.
Yeah, and I can give you that from the law enforcement perspective. And again, George, we understand you're in a different world, and you know, where you eat lunch is going to be on Nancy Grace. We get that, and that's unfortunate. But as a law enforcement officer, we're going to have some conversation before we're going to have a driver's license being handed over. And that conversation may simply be, I need to see your driver's license, registration, and proof of insurance. At that point, while getting that information, and definitely if any of that information is near your firearm, you need to say, yes, officer, I will get my driver's license. It's in my wallet. I also have a gun on my right side. I'm a concealed weapons permit holder. Or, yes, I'm going to be getting you my registration. I have a gun in my glove box, secured in the glove compartment.
Would you rather, officer, reach in and get it yourself, and I'll stand at the bumper? What I use, the way this actually manifests itself more regularly is you get asked for your driver's license, and I would then ask them, do you want my concealed weapons permit as well? That there's nothing threatening.
If you happen to be, or if you're one of those guys and you're coming back from, you bought a gun or your friend cleaned it and borrowed it and whatever it is, and it's in the trunk of the car, and he just wants to know, can I have your license, registration, proof of insurance, and you're not going anywhere near the trunk of the car, there's no reason to bring it up. Because the next question, depending on the officer, is going to be, and he's going to make an assessment based on where you are, where the firearm is. Okay, well, let's go ahead and leave that in the glove box for now. Why don't you go ahead and step out of the car? Is it okay if I go into the glove box for the only for your vehicle registration? The other option we have, sir, is because, and that's the reason I ask you this, and I'm asking you for consent to go in your glove box only. The other reason is, if you're telling me there's a gun in your glove box, for my safety, I'm going to draw my gun while you're putting your hands near your gun. So it's your option.
Let's not have mutual assured destruction here. So let's just...
Yeah.
And I've had the occasion where I was stopped. I advised them where my firearm was. I advised them that my firearm is sitting on top of my registration and my proof of insurance. And I reached in with my left hand, and I took that firearm by the barrel and turned it and handed it to the officer, who, by the way, was in training, and watched him shake violently as he took a hold of it.
We were all new. We all had our first day.
And as it came out the window of my truck by the barrel to him, I saw his field officer sprint from the car behind me up to him. And, what is going on? What's going on? And the training officer took it, unloaded it, and they came back in a few minutes and handed it back to me and bid me a good day. And no tickets were issued, but that young man was visibly shaken. The funny thing is about 24 years later, I got pulled over by that same officer, and he remembered me.
Wow!
Imagine that.
Now, you handed it over in your gun purse, or was it not in the purse?
It was a gun man bag.
It was
just for record.
It was a Baby Carlos tactical diaper bag, but that's not relevant. I actually had it above my visor. I was a concealed weapons carrier at the time, so I didn't have to have it encased in something. But it was set up in such a way as that it was very readily accessible to me should I need it. But I didn't want him to realize that he was at risk, so I handed it over to him immediately.
Right. And now I had one more question that kind of segues into that. When I was pulled over and I did inform them that I had a firearm, they asked me to step out of the vehicle, and then they proceeded to remove the firearms out of my car and start cataloging them. And they said that they were required to do that to make sure that they weren't stolen. Is that legal? And if it's not, is there anything I should do to protect myself in the future?
I see no reason, unless they're arresting you for something, that they would need to inventory your property.
Okay.
That is not what I would believe would be a.
Remington, you're saying that happened to you also? 'Cause George, we're bouncing it off of Remington here also because, again, we know you're in a unique situation.
Sure.
But Remington, that happened to you?
Yeah, I had they ran all the serial numbers on my shotguns and rifles.
Okay, and I'll tell you as a law enforcement professional, that's a no-no. If I do not have consent to go in your vehicle, that's a no-no. Just because you told me there are weapons in your vehicle, you did not, and you presented me with, or you did not present me with a concealed weapons permit, that does not give me the right to go in your car and start inventorying and copying serial numbers and running them. It would be the same as if I pulled you over for loud music and I decided I was going to start running the numbers on your speakers and on your stereo equipment to see if it was stolen. There's no difference there.
Right. It'd be paramount to them saying, all right, I want to look at all those prescription bottles, and I'm going to call the pharmacy and make sure that those prescription numbers are really yours. It is a search.
Yes.
So, Kevin, it's midnight. You get pulled over. They ask you. You tell them you have a firearm. They ask, can you step out of the car? You say, sure. Then they start pulling out your guns.
Therein lies the problem right there. You get pulled over. It's midnight. You tell them I'm a concealed weapons carrier or I have a firearm secured in my vehicle in this location. That's the one you can access from inside your vehicle. That's the end of what they need to be looking at, right? It is a consensual encounter after the point at which they stopped investigating the crime you've committed, which is
civil infraction you've committed.
The speeding ticket or the running the stop sign. What will normally happen in those circumstances is that they will give you your ticket. You will then be told you're free to go. And then they'll say, oh, by the way, do you have any other firearms in your vehicle? At that point, they don't have the right to keep you there any longer. You can leave. Now, the reality of the circumstances is if you start to leave, they'll stop you again, and they'll say, no, you can't leave. We're going to search your car. Give me permission, or I'll bring in the dog to search your car. The fact that you have other firearms in your vehicle is not a crime. They don't have the right to inventory them. So what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to have my cell phone in your phone, and you call me, and I respond to that scene, and then that officer and I and his supervisors get into a discussion about the law. You, or whatever other person might decide to execute that, execute's not the right word, invoke those rights.
Yeah, exercise. George, we've got to take a break. Can you join us after the break?
Absolutely.
Okay. Stay with us. We're going to come back, continue talking to George Zimmerman on the other side of the break. You're listening to Arms Room Radio.
Cracked asphalt is not only unsightly, it's a hazard. Lawyers make money every day representing clients who fell on other people's property. If you've been putting off repairing your sidewalk, driveway, or parking lot, don't. Protect yourself while making your property look new again. Seal Coat Florida patches, stripes, and resurfaces parking lots, walkways, and driveways. With over 20 years experience, Seal Coat Florida offers free estimates, flexible work schedules, and guaranteed professional service. Call Seal Coat at 321-358-SCFL. That's 321-358-7235. Online at sealcoatflorida.com. Seal Coat Florida, proud sponsor of Arms Room Radio.
Have you been thinking about buying an AR rifle? Maybe for hunting, sport, or even home protection? You know, there are a lot of them out there on the market. It seems like everybody and their brother has an AR out these days. So why should you choose an Arms Room AR rifle? Well, there are at least two major reasons. One, the Arms Room AR rifles are made by veterans and first responders, men and women who know what it's like to depend on a rifle when protecting life and liberty, and the AR rifle in their hands has to function right the first time, every time. Two, the Arms Room AR rifle is made right here in Central Florida with the highest quality materials and standards. Chances are your Arms Room AR may not ever be used to defend life and property. But if it comes to that, wouldn't it be comforting to know that it can? Shop the Arms Room today and check out their vast selection of handguns, shotguns, hunting rifles, Liberty gun safes, and the Arms Room AR rifle. The Arms Room, East Colonial Drive, a quarter-mile west of the Bithlo Raceway. Online at armsroom.com.
Hi, it's your lawn. Look, it's time you started paying attention to me. I got this bald spot. I'm not nearly as full and green as I should be. You need Lay-Loo's Landscaping and Sod Surface. Their trained professional team has everything we need to make me the envy of the neighborhood. Besides, do you really want to spend all of your free time with me?
No.
Well, I'm not going to lie. That hurt a little.
Lay-Loo's Landscaping and Sod Service. Call 407-692-7047. That's 407-692-7047. Get 10% off your first month service when you mention Arms Room Radio. Lay-Loo's, a proud supporter of the Second Amendment.
You're listening to Arms Room Radio. Call the Arms Room Radio hotline right now. 407-682-9595. 407-682-9595. Arms Room Radio is on the air. Welcome back to the show.
AM 660, The Answer.
Now, here's Mike.
Welcome back to Arms Room Radio. We're talking with our on-air guest on the phone, George Zimmerman. George, how can people get a hold of you? What's your Twitter handle there?
It's actually at the real George Z. I'm pretty sure I'd have to look at.
I think that sounds right. It's at the real George Z. Just in case there's anybody out there that wants to, say hi to George. Because we're not going to be able to get all the phone calls in that are people wanting to talk to George. But if you wanted to reach out to George on your own, it's at the real George Z. At the real George Z. Okay. George, I think we left off with somebody, and this has happened to Remington also here. You get pulled over. You say, I have firearms in my car. They ask you to step out, which is a safety issue for the officer. If he determines the firearms in the car, he wants to separate you from the firearms.
Totally understandable.
I've been a law enforcement officer for many years. If you tell me you've got it on your hip, I'm going to tell you, okay, well, let's just go ahead and finish conducting this traffic stop with your hands on the steering wheel. Otherwise, I'm going to take the firearm from you, or we're going to stand outside and you're going to hold your hands out in front of me because you want some measure of safety. I'm not here to seize your firearm, not here to check the records, but if somebody tells you I've got a gun on my hip, you want to take some precautions.
And I wouldn't say it that way.
Right.
I mean, pragmatically, that's what you have is a gun on your hip. But
yes.
I am armed. They will ask you, are you carrying it on your person? Yes, I am. Where is it? And don't reach to point to it. That's a bad plan.
Right.
Just describe with your hands, and Mike would end up getting shot because he can't. You tape his hands together, he can't talk.
It's part Italian.
Part Italian.
With your hands not making any furtive movements, just describe where your firearm is on your person. That should be enough. For the officer. Now, the officer, there are circumstances where I've seen an officer will say, all right, well, I'm going to come up behind you, and they'll place their hand basically on your shoulder, and they will draw your weapon out of the holster, and they will then secure it. They won't do that by themselves. There will be somebody standing in front of you very anxiously fingering their own firearm in their holster while they watch to see if you're going to make any kind of a jump.
Right.
Just as relaxed as you can stand there relaxed. and let them disarm you.
They may tell you, and I've done this before, step out of the car and just stand here with your arms crossed for me. Not behind your back, but just in a relaxing position with your arms crossed. Let's continue this like that. I don't want to disarm you. We're Second Amendment supporters. I want you to be comfortable with your firearm, but you have to understand, that they're being faced with somebody with a firearm. And we appreciate you telling us. Absolutely. I do. But I'm a Second Amendment supporter. There are plenty of law enforcement out there that couldn't tell you the Second Amendment also.
Or they've been taught by their departments that the only people that should be carrying firearms are wearing a badge.
Exactly right. So, George, you were standing outside your car, and they started to inventory your vehicle?
Right. So, Kevin, what I wanted to do is just if we could tell people in real time, because you laid out a good scenario. In real time, they ask you, do you have any other, after you got your citation, and, they ask you, do you have any other weapons? And you say yes. They have you out of the vehicle again. Do you say, when they ask you, what do you say in order to do you tell them, like, I'd like to call my attorney?
Well, what I would probably suggest is that if they ask you that question, your first response would be, why do you need to know? But what is it that you're asking me for? I thought we were done. You wrote my ticket. Aren't we finished? Because that is a very interesting Fourth Amendment issue. Is that they will tell you you're free to leave, and then they will ask you additional questions. And after they tell you you're free to leave because they've given you your ticket, the encounter becomes consensual, and anything you answer isn't while you're in custody. And while they're stopping you for a ticket, you are in their custody.
Gotcha. So just basically do what you've taught us to do and just say, am I free to go? Am I free to go?
And if they say, no, you're not free to go, I need to understand what else you have in your vehicle. I said, well, all right, officer, if you're going to conduct a search of my vehicle, I would like to speak to an attorney, and I would like to have that attorney present during the inventory, and I would like to see the warrant that you're going to use to search my vehicle. Now, that's what you can do. Is it more or less invasive to your universe to simply say, sure, go ahead, look? But the point is that if those firearms aren't stolen, there's not going to be anything for them to find. Right. The fact that they're going to write down the serial numbers of the weapons you have, they are looking for a reason to seize your firearms. That's what that whole motivation is. I want this to come. I want to put a serial number in wrong, and it come back as not a valid serial number. Oh, okay, we're going to seize it as an altered serial number. They want a reason to seize that firearm, or they wouldn't be asking you to inventory it, unless they truly believe that you are in the process of transporting something in the way of stolen property. But they should be telling you, I'm inventorying this subject to your arrest, or I'm going to inventory this because I believe you are in possession of stolen property. And they need to be able to tell you, and they need to be able to put in the report, why they thought there was any possibility you were in possession of stolen property. Because they can't. They're pulling you over for a traffic stop. It's not a free ride to go search your vehicle. If that were true, then here I'm here to deliver this mail to you. Oh, and by the way, because I delivered the mail to you, I want to go ahead and search your house.
Right. Gotcha.
It's a Fourth Amendment.
Well, thank you. That's a very comprehensive and thorough answer, and I don't want to take up any more of your time, Remington. Thank you for your patience and letting me talk to these guys. I do want to say a very big thank you to my man Earl. Remington touched on it a little bit, but about having a very sturdy belt. I carry a 1911. I've been on blogs. I couldn't figure out why it was giving me back problems. Finally, my man Earl broke it down to me and said, Georgie, you need to quit with the cheap belt, get yourself a sturdy belt, and it's made a world of a difference. And I've asked tons of people about it, and it was the expertise at the arms room that finally came through and said, here's your problem, fixed it, and I don't even feel the 1911 anymore. So thank you, Earl. Thank you all.
Glad it worked out for you. Glad I could help.
That's real life experience.
We'll talk again soon, guys.
Thank you, George. At The Real George Z, if you want to give your support to George. That's tweet him at The Real George Z. Thank you again,
Thanks,
George, for calling in.
Enjoy your day. All righty. Bye-bye, guys.
Remington, I think perhaps we're going to have you back to go over some more of the disciplines.
Yeah, no problem with that.
I wrote it down, the disciplines. How can... Oh, sorry, Kevin, go ahead.
One of the things you talked about is the various disciplines.
Kevin remembered too.
I remembered the word, but I had to think about it for a second. I want to start shooting IDPA more, and I've been a 3-gunner for a while, but so I went out to the range we talked about in Volusia County. Mm-hmm. They are about to install an entire SRT facility where they're going to be doing force-on computer-animated people training, so that if you're not comfortable shooting a weapon yet, you can go out there and basically use a simunition gun, a laser gun, to learn how to shoot IDPA.
Excellent. So if you don't want to go to the putting lead down range yet, right. SRT up in Volusia is going to have force-on-force laser training.
Yep.
Wonderful. Remington, how can they get a hold of you at Seal Coat?
Hit me up on the website, sealcoatflorida.com, or you can give me a call on my cell phone. I'll answer. I'll come to your property. I'll do the bid, 321-385-7235, 321-385-7235. Give me a call, and let me know what you need on your parking lot. And if you're available tomorrow, Central Florida Rifle Pistol has a pistol match. So come out and shoot. Get there at 8. Match starts at 9.
Remington, thank you for being here. This week's fallen hero is Army Corporal Michael L. Wayne. He died February 23rd, 2009, serving during Operation Iraqi Freedom. Maine 21 of Burlington Flats, New York, was assigned to the 5th Squadron, 1st Cav Regiment, 1st Stryker Brigade Combat Team, 25th ID, Fort Wainwright, Alaska. He died of wounds sustained when insurgents attacked his unit using small arms fire in Balad, Iraq. He enlisted in the Army as a Cav Scout after graduating from high school in Burlington Flats, an Otsego County hamlet 75 miles southeast of Syracuse and upstate New York. Over 1,500 mourners gathered in the Edmiston High School Gymnasium for the service honoring Corporal Maine. Service focused on Maine's passion for life and his sense of humor. Mourners were encouraged to be happy about the life he led. Maine's body was escorted home by an honor guard from Fort Drum, accompanied by New York State troopers and Otsego County deputies. Hundreds of friends and admirers paid their respects to Maine and his family at a service at Burlington Flats Baptist Church across the village green from where Maine lived with his parents. He was killed in action less than 3 months before he was due to rotate home. Friends described him as someone who was always willing to take their side in a fight and as an avid outdoorsman and enjoyed hunting, motorcycles, and big trucks. Maine was posthumously promoted to corporal, received the Combat Action Badge, Purple Heart, and Bronze Star with V for Valor medals. Thank you for your service, Corporal Maine. Don't forget to listen to Mark Walters tomorrow night, 8 to 11 p.m., Armed American Radio, right here on AM 660 The Answer. 9 o'clock tonight, the Angels, Rays at Angels. Don't forget, Rays are kind of struggling. Let's get the Rays on.
Go Rays.
Go Rays. And we'll see you next week right back here at Arms Room Radio. Have a good week.